So, I'm going to continue with the self-repair tools. This is topic 14. What is physical abuse? Beginning ritual. To begin work on this topic, write 4 good things that happened to you in the last 2 days. Recovering from physical abuse. One of the essential components of recovering from the effects of all kinds of trauma is validation of what happened to you. You need someone you respect and trust to hear the story of what happened to you and say to you something such as, "That was horrible. That should not have happened to you. I understand why you are having such a hard time dealing with it." Unfortunately, many women report that when they've told another person about abuse, they heard such things as, "Oh, that was nothing." Everybody gets hurt at some time or another. Well, you asked for it. Or you should just forgive and forget. These statements are invalidating and not helpful. They make you doubt the validity of what happened to you and make you feel that there is something wrong with you instead of that there is something wrong with the person who hurt you. The truth is, someone did something very bad to you. Of course, you are having a very hard time with the effects of that. If you heard invalidating things when you tried to speak up about any abuse, what was said and who said it? A place for you to write it down for yourself. You may have become very confused when you were treated in this manner. Perhaps you are now unclear about what abuse is and whether or not you were actually abused. This chapter will help validate for you that what happened to you was serious and that the person or people who hurt you were wrong. And the next part is, who is responsible? Sorry about some of the noise. It was perfectly quiet until I started recording. Who is responsible? When one person physically hurts another, the person who is being hurt is never responsible. No one deserves to be hurt. As a child, you have little choice about such things as whom you live with and where you go to school. In general, the adults who are supposed to look out for you and your best interests decide these things for you. However, sometimes these adults don't look out for your best interests, abuse you, or fail to protect you from other abuse. As an adult, you may find that you continue to have key people in your life who do not treat you well or who abuse you. The experience of being abused may cause you to make bad decisions about whom you should or should not be with. Describe the attributes of people whom you would like to involve in your life. Please write that down. I think we all know what we wish we had. That old saying, birds of a feather stick together. You know, I've Googled a lot of sayings and found out that I either don't get them right or there is more to the saying than we here in the US of A use. Okay, on to the next question. If you insisted on spending all of your time with people who have these attributes, is there anyone in your life now with whom you would no longer spend time? If so, who are they? The next question. How and when could you make a change and eliminate these people from your life? The next question. Where have you met people who were nice to you? And the final question. How could you become more closely connected to nice people? The next category here, confronting your abuser. Some women feel that it would be helpful to their healing process to confront the person who abused them, either in person, on the phone, or by letter, to let the abuser know how the abuse has affected them and perhaps ask for an apology. You do not have to do this in order to heal from the effects of abuse. In fact, it might be a very poor idea, even unsafe. How do you feel about confronting your abuser? The next question. If you feel it would be helpful, how would it be helpful? And the final and important question. How could it be harmful? One of the ways it can be harmful is attempting to get honesty from someone that you know isn't honest. They can also say more hurtful things. So, all right, the next part, or the same part, but it's a new question. One woman we spoke with often thought about confronting the man who had physically abused her when she was a child. She thought about how she would like to let him know how badly this kind of abuse affects children. However, after she considered it carefully, she felt that seeing him might trigger flashbacks, and that by stirring him up, she might put herself or others at risk of further harm. She decided she could achieve the same results by writing a letter and not sending it, and by sharing her feelings about these bad experiences with understanding friends, a therapist. She also decided that, as a way of getting back at her abuser, she would join a committee at her children's school to explore ways the community could work together to protect children from abuse. What are some ways that do not include confrontation that would allow you to address issues and feelings that have to do with your abuser. I'm going to add a little personal note in here because the next one, yes, I'm going to add a personal note since it's my paperwork. I've found, and I do not know where I read it or how long I've known, but that a lot of times, I do not recall who taught me, but that an apology from another person, even if they do their absolute best, isn't really going to be what you need to hear. And so someone told me a technique of writing a letter to yourself from that person. So we'll say, "Dear Crystal, I am very sorry for what I said, did, or didn't do. Signed, X." Now, you can make that letter as elaborate as you want, because you can give yourself the apology that you actually need with the correct words. And if spelling is your thing, then spell it perfectly, or don't. Write it sloppy, or don't. But you write the letter to yourself from the other person, and then you walk away from it for just a little while. I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour. Maybe you forget because you get a little upset from writing it, but I didn't ever get upset when I wrote the letter. I tended to feel my heart change when I read it, because it is really true that you cannot get the apology that you need from anybody else. But if you need it, give it to yourself. Write your own name at the top. Give yourself all the words and the specifics. And then sign it with their name. When you take that little break and you come back, I don't know, it's like, it's amazing. Okay, I'm back to the paperwork. Thank you for that brief moment with the real me. Regaining control. When you were physically abused, a person or people took over control of your life for a short time, or perhaps for months or years. Ongoing threats of more physical abuse may have kept you under their control. You may have had no control over your own life, no ability to make choices for yourself, or to do the things you needed to do to take care of yourself. You may be so accustomed to being controlled by others that as an adult, you feel that you still have no control or sense of your own power. There are many things that you can do to regain a sense of control and power. Like, take action to make your life the way you want it to be. Write 2 simple things you could do to make your life the way you want it to be. And the next one, take good care of yourself. Do the things you know you need to do to get well and to stay well. And the next, spend time with people who treat you well and respect you as a person. What else can you do to regain control over your life? All right, 2 parts left. This next part's called telling your story. Again, telling someone else what happened to you, having your story be believed, and having its seriousness validated is part of the healing process. The best way to do this is to tell another person or people such as a support group. However, you may not feel ready to do that, or you may feel that you do not have people in your life whose responses you could trust. The first place you can safely share your story of physical abuse may be here in this book. After all, we, the authors of this book, validate the seriousness of what happened to you and its effect on your life. You can write it on this page in the space provided, or if you are more comfortable doing so, on a separate sheet of paper that you will dispose of when you're done. The value of this exercise is in getting the experience outside of yourself, not in having something to reread at a later time, although you can do that if you want to. Write as much or as little as you want. And then we have at the top, like a title, My Story of Physical Abuse by, and then your name, and then there's a lot of space here to write it. Using a separate piece of paper, a pencil, pen, colored markers, or paint, make a picture that illustrates your feelings when you were telling your story. All right, and our last part here. What impact has the abuse had on your life? You have learned that physical abuse can lead to feelings of disempowerment and lack of control over your life. It can cause you to spend time with people who do not treat you well and to accept bad treatment that should not be tolerated. In what other ways do you think physical abuse has affected your life? One woman felt that her physical abuse had caused her to be very fearful about interacting with any men who are tall and have long, dark hair, men who look something like her abuser. To address this fear, she decided to do a reality check. She asked herself, does the height, color, and length of hair have anything to do with whether or not a person is an abuser? She decided it did not. Then, every time she saw a man who reminded her of her abuser, she said to herself several times, height, color, and length of hair do not affect a person's character. The effect of physical abuse on my life. And a place to write that down. The next question. How I could get over these effects. Then we have our ending ritual. Describe something you are looking forward to that is happening soon. It's almost summer. Describe something you are looking forward to that will happen in the more distant future. All right, and the optional activities, there are 4 of them. Number 1, tell your story of physical abuse to a person or people you trust. You can begin by just telling them a sentence or 2, just enough to let them know something happened to you. You can tell them more at other times. Doing it slowly will help you feel more comfortable and trusting. Number 2, attend an activity in your community where you might have an opportunity to meet nice people. Number 3, spend some time playing with a small child and treat that child the way you wish you had been treated when you were a child. If this is not possible, or if you do not feel comfortable with children, find a doll or a stuffed animal to hold gently and lovingly. Number 4, do a few of the things you identified in the last section of this topic that you determined might help you get over some of the effects of your abuse. I will, and then there's 3 lines to fill out. And the final piece that I like to use for reminders in my phone or on a post-it. I am in charge of my life. The abuse that happened to me was very serious. Experiencing serious effects from the abuse is understandable. The person or people who abused me were wrong. I am a good person who did not deserve to be abused. No one deserves abuse. I do not need to forgive my abuser or abusers. And the final one, I have the right to be treated well and to spend my life with people who treat me well. I've been reading to you from Healing the Trauma of Abuse, topic 14, which is what is physical abuse? These are tools for repairing yourself. And remember to reach out if you feel overwhelmed or need any assistance. Thank you for letting me read my papers to you. I appreciate you.